Thank you so much for signing up for our seller seminar. I'm Maggee Miggins. And of course, I'm hysterical because we're competing with a possible snowstorm, 4 to 6 inches, they're saying. And if any of you are Jeopardy fans, oh my golly gee, that woman, Amy Schneider, she's like on a streak. So if you have your Jeopardy on in the background and we're still talking at 7:30, you'll have to let me know whether or not she is successful again this evening. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. We can't believe it's 2022 already. I mean, it's the beginning of January and we're talking about seller seminars, and people will normally say, why don't we wait till spring? Well, historically for the towns that we cover, and there's about 15 of them, this is the spring market. It starts in January. People like to make changes in their lives. And so they start to think, well, do I want to fix my kitchen or should I just look at somebody who's already done it? And so those are the conversations that we find happen between couples, and they start to look and then they decide that maybe they will move up. And it does start to happen in January. The towns we cover pretty much are bonus towns. And as you know, Wall Street had a fabulous year this year. And historically prices are through the roof in the real estate world. So of course, we also know what goes up doesn't always stay up, and it will come down. And after 27 years of selling real estate, this I know to be true. So we're going to start with Leslie's who's working with me, is going to share my screen. I'm really excited about that. And we are going to talk about getting a jump on the spring market and why you wish to get a jump on the spring market. So here we go, Les. Snapping this way?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was prepping your home for sale and why we think that's really important. Very often we'll go into a seller's home and they'll ask us, you know, are there things we need to fix? Are there things we need to update? And one of the major things I will always tell everyone is declutter, 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 and declutter a little bit more. And just when you think you've decluttered as much as you possibly can, go back and do another round. It really matters. I'll very often say to people, you know, the more you can put away, the more you can get rid of, is like putting money in your pocket. It really is. You're really trying to bring your house back to neutral, almost as if you don't live there. I know that sounds kind of crazy, and most people say, but this is my house and I do live here. Well, no. When you get ready to put your home on the market, it becomes the public's home, believe it or not. So that's really important to know, that decluttering is huge. And, you know, there's a Container Store up on Route 10, fabulous. They've got see-through containers. I would recommend you go there and start putting things, and nice snap-on lids. I did it when I was redecorating my home, which I've just done, and getting rid of a lot of things, but also clear, because then you can see what you're packing up. Another thing people talk about is painting and wallpaper, etc. So, you know, I put out a video recently. You know, I had red flocked wallpaper in my dining room. That was the look 20 some odd years ago, but we got rid of it. And we think that it shows that it's, you know, if you could bring everything back to neutral, get rid of those red flocked wallpapers or things that just are not in style anymore, simple little fixes, and paint it a neutral color. And a color that I absolutely love is called Pale Oak. It's just a really neutral shade. We're starting to get away from the grays, as it were, and Pale Oak is just a very neutral shade that you can add any color to. So I would suggest that you do some painting, some less expensive fixes, but gives it a nice fresh look. Another thing, decluttering, that's one of our, you could see those, that's the same exact room from a decluttering point of view. That's the same exact room. And you could see when you get rid of those cabinets, when you move the desk, they turned this into a bedroom. It's fabulous. It's the same room. You wouldn't know it. Painting, look at the difference. Look at the difference in these. This is the exact same room. Pulling off window treatments, throwing a nice, this is a white on this home, little bit of staging, but it looks fresh and clean. And a lot of the buyers today, when they move in and they fall in love online, you just need to know that they fall in love online. They're used to swiping, whether it's a dating app or they're on a website looking at real estate. They're swiping away. If they saw a bedroom that is green, like the one on my left, they would keep moving. And they would look at the one with the white bedroom and say, oh my gosh, that looks really nice. I want to go look at that house. I want to really go look at that house. So it's just something for you to look at and see what a difference a can of paint can make. Here's red flock wallpaper, right? I had that. Now, what's so really different about this, you see the window treatments are down, and you see that the it's been painted neutral shade. That almost looks like a pale oak. But they've kept the same dining room. So although brown furniture isn't necessarily the latest and most hip, a piece or two here or there, they've taken out the head and the foot of the dining room chairs, and they've put more chairs. The rug is the same, the table is the same. They put more of an updated piece on the table itself. They've taken out the candles, but the light fixtures are the same. Those window treatments are down. So it looks more, it just looks fresher. It just looks more alive, more welcoming. The red is just, it's just an outdated color, and that just screams, hello, I'm one of the most dated homes you've ever seen. So that's easy enough to fix.
Oh, that's nice.
One of the other things I think is when you're preparing your home to come to market, do yourself a favor and schedule a tank scan. I've had clients that have said, nope, we have paperwork that says the oil tank's been taken out. And I'm like, terrific, still do a scan anyway. I've had clients that have had 2 tanks and didn't realize there were 2 tanks in the ground. So those are some signs of a fill pipe right in the center. That's a fill pipe. Do you see that coming up? You also see a fill pipe on the side of the house. That's to the right. And then often you'll see in your basement, right near your boiler, those copper lines that kind of come in, they just come right in. If you have had your tank taken out, the company that took it out should have cut those lines. If they didn't, get somebody in, maybe a plumber or something, to come in and snip that and make sure that they're not showing. But those are some signs, and I would absolutely suggest that you do a tank scan. And we have companies call us, we'll give you the name of companies that can come out and just do a tank scan to make sure, because that's a headache you don't want to have to deal with when you're in the midst of selling your home. You know, if God forbid there's a leak or something, and that could set you back a few months, and mentally you've moved on, so you wish to move on. We want to cross the finish line with you, but those can be toughies. So we try and keep an eye on that. Go ahead, Les. So we're at Compass. We've been working at Compass Real Estate. It was a year in May. We had been with a different firm for over 13 years. So we didn't, our move wasn't made lightly. And yet we found that this program that Compass Concierge has now is, if there are those little tweaks that you need from staging to renovation, you can use Compass Concierge. So when you list with us, you can take their program, and it's up to $75,000. They will, an outside firm will loan you interest-free so that you can do all those fixes. And when you close on your home, then you just pay back the loan interest-free. I think that's pretty good, because we do see rates going up, and it's a way to not maybe have to tap your equity, or maybe you don't want to touch your money that's in the market that's, you know, performing so beautifully. So give us a shout out about Compass Concierge. It might be something that you would take interest in. Then people always ask me, you know what, Maggie, what shouldn't we fix? And, you know, we have old bathrooms, or, you know, should we renovate the kitchen or the attic? Or should we do some major, you know, updates, like whether it's landscaping or enclosing a porch? So I guess my suggestion is always, you know, I read a it was a Wall Street Journal article about dated bathrooms. Well, they're back in fashion. How do you like that? All those really, and around here, a lot of our homes have those really cool tiles that are, you know, purple or pink or green. And what they're doing instead is they're accessorizing the bathrooms. We'll say if the tile's in great condition, then you could just accessorize it with paint and some nice, fresh, like white fluffy towels. Always does the trick. Always, always, always nice white fluffy towels. But you can accessorize it with paint. If it's a shower that has a curtain rather than a door, you could get a really fun, modern looking shower curtain just to like brighten it up a little bit. You don't necessarily have to renovate. You know, markets can switch like this. And I would never want to suggest to someone to do a renovation, and then all of a sudden the pendulum swings and they don't get that money back. Historically, you just don't get that money back. We had clients, this house right here, one of our agents, Tamara, this was her listing in Millburn. She wound up with 16 offers on this house. It sold in the first weekend, and it just happened, gosh, about a month ago. There was a space where the seller had filled, had gotten plans, architect plans to finish the 4th bedroom, the attic space. And they said, should we do that, or should we just put it on the market? And they were leaning towards doing it. And my suggestion was, don't do it. There is no inventory on the market. Let's just get the house on the market. And we did. There are the plans. You can always give those to a potential buyer and say, here are the future plans if it's something you wish to do. And we wound up with 16 offers, and we didn't finish that 3rd bedroom, and it sold in the first weekend, and the sellers are thrilled and the buyers are thrilled. So sometimes doing those big renovations just might not make sense. Also, you wouldn't be doing landscaping now anyway, you know, everything kind of lays dormant. And because of COVID, we're having a hard time getting contractors. Because of COVID, we're having a hard time getting appliances. Because of COVID, things are 22, 26, 30 weeks out. I'm waiting for dining room chairs for over, I just got a new notice. They won't be until March. I ordered them in June, March. They'll be in March. So I've waited this long. Let's see if they come in 2 months. So because there is such a little bit of inventory, it made sense for our seller to then say, you know what, we're not going to finish it. Boom. And that's what happened. We had multiple bids. We were thrilled. Let's talk a little bit about the current market. I think it's important you know this. In the current market today, I went back and we have a lack of inventory. We have inflation rearing its ugly head, as you know, and we've lost our SALT deductions. So we'll talk about that a little bit, but let's talk about the lack of inventory. So we like to look at what's going on in the market and historical data as well. So in November, Millburn Short Hills is the top town on this list. There were 24 homes on at the end of November. Now at the end of December, and I can even tell you today's current numbers because I just looked at them. There's only 11 homes to buy in the whole town of Millburn Short Hills. 11, that's it. 2 in Millburn, 9 in Short Hills. You can see that normally by the end of the year in 2020, we had 50, 19, there was 85, 18. I mean, look at these numbers. So whatever town you live in, you can see the total lack of inventory. There's not any homes to buy. For instance, in Millburn, between $1.3 million and $2 million, there's nothing on the market, not one home, none. People can't buy it in that price point. We normally end the year with about 75 homes on average, right? Summit's the same thing. There's no inventory, 25 homes, Maplewood 19, South Orange 14. I mean, there's just such a lack of inventory. And we look at these numbers and we think, golly, we're going to run out of homes to sell. We're just going to run out of homes to sell. There's nothing to sell. People can't buy. Prices are great. And that's good for you, the seller. These numbers blow me away. In my 27 years of selling real estate, I've never seen inventory this low. And as I said, just before we came on, I just thought, oh, let me check that. We call it a hot sheet. Let me just check the hot sheet on Millburn Short Hills. And there are 11, just 11 homes. That is totally unheard of. And there are the buyers, like the house on Mountain View that Tamara sold, the 16 offers. Well, there are still 15 buyers out there looking at that price point. One of our agents has 9 buyers. She's FaceTiming them on Sunday on a house. I mean, there's a lot of buyers out there. The demand is really pent up. But we also have to look on the other side with inflation, with interest rates. I mean, inflation rose to 6.8%. That is pretty amazing. So I think we all see it. We go into the market, things are more expensive. I went to go buy a little thing of cream cheese. First of all, I couldn't find it. And there was a whole article about that. Juniors had to close for a few days in New York. They didn't have cream cheese to make cheesecakes. But a little container that I'm used to spending $3, $4 on, $8. That's when I could buy it. So we can see inflation is hitting us. And that's a little disconcerting. We had been bumping along really, really well for some time, but that's something we have to keep an eye on. We also have to keep an eye on interest rates, because those the Fed has promised us will go up. And every time an interest rate goes up 1 percentage point, that's equal to about 10% of purchasing power. So that $200,000 home or $2 million home, now the buyer can only afford $1.8 million. So as rates go up, prices do come down. We're not going to, in my humble opinion, the Build Back Better program is still getting built, and I don't know if it's going to get any better. Part of that were the SALT deductions, and we're a high tax state, right? I don't think we'll see those coming back to us. I think we're going to be limited on that $10,000. So when you're sitting on your equity in your home, and we could say, why don't you take your equity out, take your money out of the market in real estate, whether it's real estate or Wall Street, whether you live in a rental or if you live in a home, your deduction is still what it is. So that's something to think about if you are, thinking about moving, knowing that you're not going to get those same deductions. It's just keep in mind. We also, I love this chart. There's a guy that we follow, Jeff Otto. He's fabulous. And this is a chart that he follows. We've had it since 2000. And he emailed it. We emailed him just to say, hey, how did we wind up at 2021? What was the percentage change for prices going up? And originally he had forecast back in 2020, it would be about 6%, but no, it wound up being somewhere between 12 and 15%. He'll have those numbers in, in a few weeks. And when we get them, we'll share them with you. But I just want you to see, you could see, I guess 2005 was the height of the market, 2006, and these are averages. So in 2006, if you bought a house, you paid $325,000 for it. You could double that. You could add some zeros, whatever. If you went to go sell it on average in 2012, you were down to $255,000. That's how the drop was. And it was like that. I was in that market. It was horrific if somebody bought at the height and was selling at the low point. And then you could see in 13, it started to pick back up. But if you bought in 2006, not putting the money, not even counting the money that you're putting into the market, it wasn't until 2019, 13 years later, that you were at almost break even. That to me is wild. 13 years to get to break even. And it's just something to keep in mind, because as you saw, from 2000 to 2006, prices were up about on average 114%. That's true. And then they fell 22%. And now they're up again about 40%. On average, it's about 4 to 5% that they normally go up any real estate market. It's hard to time it. But I'm looking at a crystal ball thinking, oh, this isn't going to stay like this forever. So it's just something to keep in mind when we're looking at forecasting in terms of pricing. Not that I have a crystal ball, but you always can feel the cracks in the market, I guess. Yes.
Yeah.
So some of the questions we had are, if we know we're in a desirable community where houses sell quickly, is it better to price it higher or lower to induce a bidding war? We don't want to risk selling it at a too low price and our buyers are open to a leaseback clause. Well, you know what? Yes, buyers are always open to a leaseback clause, especially when there's such a lack of inventory. I think for most buyers, they would rather lock into their interest rate now, and they would be more than happy to do a leaseback if that's important to you. So it just depends. And in a multiple bid situation, you are in control as a seller. You are totally in control. You could say, I want a leaseback. I don't want to close till June. I want, I want inspections limited. There are so many different things you could do. Certain things are non-negotiables though. Oil tanks, mold, asbestos, sewer lines that are clogged, that kind of stuff. That's not negotiable. You'll have to fix that. But as far as pricing, well, that's a really interesting question. If you ever watch an auction, people get really, really excited when something comes in, and you could see, the paddles going up and back and forth and back and forth. And that's what we find in real estate as well. It's a commodity. So if you are in a neighborhood where houses are selling quickly and you see that there's nothing on the market, and the comps that you can use, by the way, although looking in the rearview mirror, the comps that you can use are the ones that are right in your neighborhood. That's setting the price right now. So the house that had 16 offers, well, that house is going to set the price for the next house in that neighborhood. So we always try to price at par, as it were, or just a little under. I'm not a big believer in overpricing something. I think I don't think you'll ever leave money on the table when you have buyers that are interested in moving to a home. I think that you hurt yourself by overpricing a home. I think you wind up being stale. I mean, it's been my experience that everybody always asks, well, how long has this house been on the market and why hasn't it sold? And so that's when you start having days on market building up, that's never a good thing. So I like to price right at value or just a little bit under, and then you let the market take it where it is. I'm not buying the house. You know, we have the buyers there that'll bid it right up, but I think you have to do it just at par or a little under. Overpricing just you get stale, people pass it over. It's hard to, you know, you're trying to, your most energy comes out right at the beginning of the market. That's right in the beginning. Is your home is the most valuable the day you hit the market. I promise you, it really is. And then building up the momentum, building up the excitement, and boom, making it happen. So that's how I feel about it. That's just my personal opinion. Other realtors may feel differently, but that's been our success strategy. Should we repair and seal coat our driveway? Well, that's an interesting question as well, because it's January, and right, we're going to get a snowstorm now. So most people won't even see the driveway. But at the same time, I do think you should repair and seal coat the driveway. I'm not saying you have to do a whole brand new driveway, but that's the first impression somebody has when they first walk up. You know, the front door is painted nicely, the driveway looks nice and slick, and it doesn't have, you know, big gouges out of it or holes, because what winds up happening in a buyer's mind is, golly, if they're not taking care of that, what else aren't they taking care of in the house that I cannot see? I mean, everyone always has a home inspection, but what else could there possibly be that has been neglected? So I would repair a driveway and seal coat it. I don't think it's that expensive. And I think it just makes a nice good first impression. My roof is almost at the end of its life. Well, guess what? A home inspector is going to let the buyer know your roof is almost at the end of its life. It still looks okay. It doesn't leak. That's fabulous. Should I have it replaced before putting my house on the market? No, that's a really great question. How old is the roof? Is it 30 years old? Is it original? Is it cupping and peeling? I mean, are these things that the home inspector is going to find out or point out to the clients? Now, again, we're in a seller's market right now. It is amazing. It is crazy. So I would say I would have a roofer come look at it. You know, we just think they're the bee's knees. They just put my roof on 2 years ago, Novalis, over in Chatham. David, it's fabulous. They're honest, they're ethical. They will tell it like it is. They'll let you know if you need a new roof. They'll let you know if they maybe see leaks that maybe you possibly don't. So just, I guess it depends upon the age, but I would always bring in an expert, because then you can even say to a buyer, look, just had my roof looked at, legitimate company. They think I might have a year or two left on it. Year or two left is a year or two left, you know, that's okay. But if it's leaking, well, then that's a different story. Let's see, if anybody has questions, by the way, as we're scrolling through, it'd be my pleasure to be able to answer them for you. These were some that had come up that people had submitted to us. So we wanted to make sure that we covered them all. Let's go, Liz.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're short tonight and sweet. If there's something that I didn't answer, tell me, please put it in the chat box. This is our first webinar. You know, with COVID and everything happening, we just felt like until they get a handle on everything, it's better that we don't meet necessarily in public, although we'd love to have you all back. We think it's important that you know that there are COVID protocols in place for us, especially with our team. So masking is important, gloves are important, sanitizer is important, booties, of course, are always important for us. We think until this works its way through, it's better to be safe than to be sorry. Let's see. If my furnace is 22 years old and it still works, should I replace it? You know what? If you service it all the time, and sometimes some of those old girls are pretty good and you don't have to necessarily replace it. But if you get it serviced all the time and you are, you know, and you can show that, you know, you have reports, then the suggestion I might make is if you were selling your house and you want to put a homeowner's warranty on it. again, in as much as like a roof, if somebody buys your home, they have an expectation that the product is going to work, but that doesn't mean you have to guarantee it for 2 or 3 or 5 years. They know what they're buying so they'll start to budget for it as well. If it's serviced, if you have receipts, if it's in, still good condition, if you could buy a homeowner's warranty, which covers a whole host of issues within a house, whether it's central air systems, hot water heaters, leaky faucets, burners, boilers. So I think, that'll cover it really well. Do I think the Midtown Direct train line is as much of a draw with the work from home situation these days? You know what? I do. I think that the Midtown, I don't think this is going to last forever, this COVID. I mean, I realize we're all so frustrated with it. And it's like, gosh, just when you think we're done and here it comes back again. But I do think the Midtown Direct, because some people are still going into the office. And I think eventually they will be back in the office. And people that, a lot of people that live along our train line work on Wall Street. And, I think there was a push to bring them back to the office. So I think, I do think the train makes a difference. And I think if we can get that money, the transportation money, and that can make a difference in improving our rail line, I think that'll be important as well. One of the nice things about living in our communities along the train line, not only do we have the train that gets us into the city, so if you have family that come to visit, they can just hop on the train, they want to go to a show or the museum or the ballet. It's a 15-minute drive to the airport. You have an international airport 15 minutes away. That's incredible. And you have wonderful schools in all of our communities. The schools are ranked so high. So I think that, it's like a trifecta. I think all of those things are important. Let me see. How is the market for condos versus single family homes in the Chatham? That's a great question. Well, you know what? A lot of people are scaling down out of their homes into condos. So there is always that market. We're seeing them sell quickly. You get to the point, this first snowstorm is going to hit tonight, right? And you'll think, oh my God, I don't want to have to shovel again. I'm sick of it. I want somebody to do it for me. I don't want to have to worry about my roof. I don't want to have to worry about anything. I just want to be able to lock the door and go to Florida for 3 months and not have to worry about it. So we find, depending upon what stage you are at your life, we find that some people that do go into condos, they just don't want to have to worry about the maintenance anymore. And I could appreciate that. I just had my husband's away and I had to hire a snowplow guy to do my driveway tomorrow. So, because I'm not going to do it. So that's interesting, but I think condos, the market is just as hot. There was, again, I just had pulled them out single family, but in Milburn, Short Hills, there are, and we can look in some in Chatham's if you want and get that to you. There were like 2 condos and a condo and a townhome. That's it. They sell quickly. They're maintenance free. Maybe you have 2 people working together. Maybe you have, somebody needs something. They don't want their big house anymore. They're widowed. They're getting divorced. Whatever it is, or they just want to scale down. Yeah, we're selling a lot of those. We really are. Anybody else, Leslie? One more. Who? Listen, folks. Somebody needs to let me know if Amy Schneider won today on Jeopardy.
Oh wait, she raised her hand. Hold on.
One sec. Let's see. Anna. Sure, we can ask her to talk. Anna, we're going to have you talk because you're allowed to talk.
Yeah.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
You're muted though, darling. If you want to speak. Maybe not.
I was muted.
Okay, great.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm from California and I was curious as to who pays for the homeowner warranty. Is it the buyer or the seller?
Normally the seller. That's a great question. And because
Okay.
why you normally do that is, things might come up in a home inspection. There's so much CYA that gets done, covering your tushy, that a home inspector might say, well, this is at its end of its useful life. Or they'll say that maybe about the hot water heater or the boiler or the air conditioning unit. So in order for a seller not to have to necessarily replace all those big ticket items, they'll say, you know what, we're going to get you a homeowner's warranty. It's going to cover you for the next year. People can always update them. Different utility companies even have them as well. I know public service does. And the reason why you want to have that is because, again, if it's working now and it's working today and it's going to work for the next year or the next 2 years, that's what you're selling them. If something goes wrong in 3 to 4 years, well, then that's on them. They've lived in the house then. So we find that with the homeowners warranties, it just covers everything if something comes up in a home inspection issue, but definitely a seller would pay for that.
Okay, and how about if somebody is in a condominium, they have usually like a study performed on, I think it might be the common area, like the life of the roof, the life of so-so, but for somebody who, let's say, owns a condo and, has like central air and heating and is responsible for that and hasn't really replaced it in many years, how would you treat that?
That's interesting that you say that because, again, you can get a warranty on that on a condo. There are certain condos that have their own heating systems and their own hot water heaters. Absolutely. As far as the common area, well, then what you would want to do is you'd want to get the reports from the company that handles, I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
The homeowners association.
Property management and the homeowners association.
Okay.
That's correct. To see what their budgets are about, what's been updated, what do they have in reserves, what have they fixed lately, what's going to need fixing. You can get, and your attorney, of course, requests all that. Absolutely.
Okay. As a buyer, I would be looking at that, but then as a seller, my concern would be I haven't replaced and I haven't had to, but the hot or air and central air and heating. So that's my concern. Would I have to disclose that, or would that come up in that home, I guess, inspection? Obviously.
Well, a home inspection is done by a buyer. That's true. A home inspection is done by the buyer. If you haven't replaced anything and you've lived there for a while, when you fill out a seller disclosure, which all sellers will fill out if they choose to, then that's where you would put that information. You know what? I purchased this place in 1995 and I haven't, age of boiler, unknown, or 20 plus years, and that's where all of that goes. So that when a buyer is looking to make a purchase for your home, they read through your seller disclosure and they can see what to be right or wrong with something, how old something is or isn't. So that's where it's all listed there. And then of course, they'll have their home inspector come along and say, look, I think this has got 20 years on it, or this is 10 years old, or that's how that works. So you disclose it, what you know to be right or wrong, and then they have their home inspection, and then it becomes a negotiation. But today, I have to tell you, this is one of the biggest sellers markets. I think we're coming up on the other side of it. I think when COVID first hit, that was a black swan that just nobody expected. And, people came rushing out of the city. But I think that so many of the negotiations that we're doing, that my agents are doing and the team is doing, are involving where the seller is really in the driver's seat. So that's why we wanted to talk to you and have this seminar, and to let you know that today you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are in the driver's seat. But like a pendulum swing, it could change tomorrow. Nobody saw COVID coming. Nobody saw inventories being squeezed. Nobody saw interest rates staying that low. No one saw the price. We didn't see it coming. We just didn't. Nobody did, right? It was happening over in China, right? That's where COVID was happening. It wasn't happening in the United States. And then overnight, that was it. And people hunkered down. So I think in as much as that can change, and hopefully it does change, and it will change, and the inventory will start to grow, then that's where it's a supply and demand thing. And you have to just kind of look at pricing that way. So that's why we're pushing to let everyone know, oh my gosh, if ever is the time, today's the time. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Is it easy to rent out a single family home in Short Hills, 5-minute walk to the train station? It's always easy to rent out a house. We have a lot of relocation buyers that come in as well, and they just want to come in for a year or 2 years. And so it's very easy. Now, 5-minute walk, well, I guess that depends. Is it a 5-minute walk, you know, in the Glenwood section, or is it a 5-minute walk from up in the Hartshorn section? It just depends upon, you know, how close you are to the train. But you see a lot of people walking. I mean, one of the nice things is where our office is, I'm on Chatham Road in Short Hills. I have my own office. Our team has our own office. And so we're right next to the Short Hills Post Office. And beyond that are the 2 parking lots, the municipal parking lots. And every day I see more cars in there. I just have to let you know that every day we're starting to see more cars. There's more permits being sold every now. I mean, the permit numbers were down very low last year, but this year we're starting to see that happen as well. So if it's a brisk walk, yeah, I think you'll be fine to the station. And the best time to rent it out, anytime. If you're priced right and there's no inventory, we can always let you know what the rental market is like. But the rentals go quickly around here. They really do. So people say, I'm thinking about renting a house and I want to do it in April. And I'm like, don't need to look now. Wait till the end of March or, you know, April. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Glenwood section. Yeah, that's a good stretch of the legs, but yeah, that's easy enough because it's, you know, all the elementary schools are very popular around here. Glenwood's very popular. Hartford, I mean, they're all popular. They really are. But the closer into the train, yes, the easier it is for someone. You know, they go quicker. Let's just put it that way. They will go, the rentals will go quicker. Although you always have the parking too so you know, the parking in Milburn Short Hills, what's fabulous about that, those are our lots. We own them. So those spots are just exclusive for people that live in Milburn Short Hills. Whereas in other towns along the train line, they are not exclusive. And so you might be a resident and not be able to get a spot that certain day. But in Milburn Short Hills, we absolutely, and we love that about our town. We have our own spots and they're just for our people. So that's pretty good.
I think that's it.
I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we're good. 7:40.
That wasn't bad, guys. This was a really nice, quick seminar. Now, there might have been things that you thought about after the fact that we didn't get to answer for you. We'll send out a survey. You'll let us know what you liked and what you didn't like. If there's any other questions that came to mind, because sometimes that happens, you start spitballing with people and the next thing you know, they say, oh, dang, I should have asked about blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. So please don't hesitate to email us back. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions specifically about your home, we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions about the market, we'd love to hear from you. It'd be our pleasure to be able to share with you everything we know and what's happening. And what's happening specific to your home, your personal home. Leslie's just going to put up our office number to give us a shout.
Right.
And perfect, Les, awesome. And I thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us. It's been our pleasure to share this information with you. And
We'll meet again on January 25th.
we're going to do it again on January 25th. So if there's other questions that come along, please don't hesitate, send them our way. If you need any resources, oil tank companies for sweeping, stagers, declutterers, there are people that do that. You've got some old furniture that you want sold. We've got companies that'll come in and help you do that. Mold people. I mean, you name it, we have it. Roofers, I think I've named a couple different vendors tonight, but if there's something specific that we did not talk about, oh my gosh, call us. We'd be more than happy to give them to you. We have a little black book and we share it with everyone. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining the Maggee Miggins Group. And we look forward to meeting with you in the near future. Thanks so much. Let's go see who won Jeopardy.